All right, welcome back. So today, at this moment, I am very pleased to introduce you to Timo Stollenwerk and Víctor Fernández Alba, who together at Kit Concept have been the driving force behind Volto. Timo has been a core developer of Plone and a member of many teams. He's actually, I believe, a former Google Summer of Code student for Plone. And Víctor has been working with Plone for eons, it seems. He's the developer of the original Barceloneta theme, as well as a ton of add-ons. And of course, he's the release manager for Volto. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Timo and Víctor.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks, Kim. So 2020 was a tough year for us in many regards. Like co-workers, family, and friends were hit by like a few unfortunate events. Víctor was off for half a year. My partner in crime for Volto, which hit us hard as a company and me personally as well, to fill that gap. And I kind of like saying that, I kind of feel bad like for saying that, because we're in a global pandemic, right? And that like I think 2020 has been tough for everybody, and there are people that were hit like far worse. Also, people in the Plone community that had a really tough year 2020. Though I think for Kit Concept or for us, we have been like quite privileged that for instance, we work in IT, right? I have friends who work in other sectors who are really hit hard, a lot harder. We have been a remote company right from the start, right? So we were quite prepared for like going on the home office. And when I look at the raw numbers as CEO of the company, I'm supposed to do that, right? And the projects and the new clients that we had in 2020, 2020 is by far the best year in the history of the company, or was the best year in the history of the company. And since we started with Volto like more than 3 years ago, we actually, like every pitch that we did at a client, we won that pitch with Volto, and that's like pretty amazing if you look at it. But at the same time, I'm kind of an imposter, right? So even in times of like, if something works, then I still ask myself, why did that work, right? I mean, I'm not a good like salesperson, right? I'm not like a Microsoft consultant or anything. Like a client once told us, a client that has many Microsoft consultants in there, they asked this Microsoft consultants for a solution for a search or index server for their 20 different internet solutions. And this Microsoft consultant told them, yeah, that's easy. We have a solution for that. Just go with SharePoint, right? And I'm not that kind of person, right? I'm different. I can only like sell what I sincerely believe in, right? So in retrospective, there's some things in life that you only realize in retrospective. You don't realize when it actually happens to you, right? But looking at that, I realized that in the past years, I lost something when I was going into pitches and selling classic Plone, when I was selling Plone 5, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying here that Plone is a bad choice or was like Plone was never a bad choice, right? And it's still like a valid choice also in 2020 and everything. But when I look back now that I sell Volto to like clients, also to the community, we go to lots of, or we used to go to lots of open source events. We organized lots of open source events. So like and selling Volto there, right? And Volto really brought back the joy and the excitement as a developer that I actually felt like back in the days when I started with Volto, with Plone. Sorry, that will happen quite a few times, I think, during my talk. So when I started with Plone long time ago, I had this feeling of like pure joy and excitement, right? And this came back with Volto actually, but also that feeling that when I pitch Volto for clients, that we're able to provide them the best CMS option on the market, right? That we're not like some like a nice or like a good solution, but really like that we're able to offer them the best thing that we have right now on the market, right? And I sincerely believe that if we make the right decisions as a community and we manage the transition from Volto to Plone 6, right? And we provide our clients and users with like this stable and scalable and secure backend that Moritz and Eric talked about in their keynote. And we have the Plone Foundation that secures the trademark and everything that comes with that. Our existing rich ecosystem and a growing number of companies that use Volto, right? What Víctor said, or what Eric cites, that we're not alone any longer. That Volto has a rich community and a rich ecosystem of add-on products already, which is just amazing, right? When I look at what EEA did, or the web and Red Turtle, right? That's just amazing, the amount of add-ons that they created. And when I look at like the competitors that we have in the market for our use case that we have, right? For instance, classic CMSs like Drupal, Typo 3, or Joomla, right? They're kind of like stuck in the past, like a bit to a certain degree, like classic Plone, of course, right? They all have an outdated stack, and it's hard for them to make the transition. But we would be kind of the first to actually like do the final release, right? And go that way. And I really hope that we can make that, right? That we don't fall into the old habit of like being first and finish last. Then we have like more modern CMS solutions where they already did this transition, right? Like WordPress with Gutenberg, which is pretty amazing as an editor, or Neos, which is a fork of Typo 3, right? They have modern React-based front ends actually, but when you look at them, they're really overly complex from the user interface point of view, right? And they're targeted more towards agencies than the actual editors, right? I talked about this like quite a few times in the last years already. But if you ship Plone to like thousands of editors or 10,000 of editors even, right? You have a huge training cost if you have an overly complex user interface, or if you require HTML knowledge, if you require people to know what's the difference between margin and padding, for instance, right? As simple as those things. That's a downside that we don't have in Volto, or which I believe we don't have. And in addition, they have like the scalability and security issues that comes with most like PHP-based systems, and we don't have that because we have the most secure CMS on the market, right? Then there are like static site generators like Gatsby, and I'm a huge fan of Gatsby. Gatsby is great, right? It's fast, it's super fast actually. It has a modern JS stack. You can use React. It has a huge community. It's backed by lots of money, but in the end, and it's really good for like particular use cases, right? No question about that. But they basically moved the scalability problem to build time, right? So if you have 10,000 or 100,000 pages, then you need to regenerate them all if you change one, right? And this is and they're trying to like solve that problem with some nifty algorithms and stuff. But basically, they moved the caching problem to their own space, right? And not solving that problem with the caching system, which is like a lot easier, right? And also, Gatsby is not so easy to maintain over time, which is also something that's really important for larger deployments. And then we have like headless CMS, right? Plone is actually headless CMS without the vendor lock actually already, right? And headless CMS, or the headless CMS approach, promises flexibility, a modern stack, and that you can like freely choose like the latest JavaScript framework that you like. But to a certain degree, this flexibility also like can kill you, right? Because you're kind of doomed to reinvent the wheel. You have to build the entire like CMS functionality. And I can tell you from experience from the last 3 years, that's a lot of work that you can't do in a single project, right? And as well, you have the problem that if you choose the latest JavaScript framework, whatever that means, if that's like Reason or Svelte or whatever, you might end up in a situation where like in a few years, that's not the hipster thingy any longer, right? And then you have to move on, right? So I think with Volto, we can provide users and developers with a unique combination of stability in the backend and in the community, together with a modern, fast-moving front end, right? And we really have the chance to put Plone from like a niche system that we always have been, if we're honest, back on the CMS map, right? And make Plone the best option for CMSs for a certain use case, of course, like that's the imposter in me again. But I sincerely believe that we have that chance, right? And that we can provide our clients and our users with a really like fantastic solution here. And I will hand over now to Víctor, who will tell you more about the details about the past year, what we did in Volto and what we plan to do.
Okay, thanks, Timo. Let me share my screen first. Yeah. Okay, and okay, here we go. So yeah, before I start, I want to spend one moment to say something. Some of you may already know, but during last month, I had to endure the toughest moment of my life. I am fortunate to be able to say that this is already past, but I wanted to say thanks. Thanks to everybody who was there supporting me over these hard times. Thanks to my family, my wife, Agatha, my mother, my father, my brothers, my own, and so many countless friends that support me, right? And I wanted to mention especially to Timo, who supported me unconditionally, and it's yeah, the most important thing that happened. I am so fortunate to have all of you around, and thanks, and yeah, apologize but I wanted to say this before continuing. So let's go for it. So what's the most important milestone in Volto that happens this year? Yeah, Eric and Timo already pointed out, but I think that the most important milestone for Volto this year is that we went from a small bunch of group of people that believed in Volto, in the Volto vision, and we went to reach the critical mass of believers inside the Plone community. So, and this is, yeah, very important to note. And from now on, whatever I say we in this talk, I'm referring to all of them. I'm referring to all the Volto believers in our community. So, yeah, in my last Plone conference talk, I was asking myself this question. So what's Plone? What is Plone in 2020? And I asked you, what will be your answer, right? And I want to reflect on that. Back in the day, and I want also today to share with you some additional insights that I had during the past year. I think that Plone has evolved from being a standalone product to be a contract. Is the knowledge and wisdom that we, the Plone community, achieved during the last 20 years, building a world-class enterprise CMS. And I wanted to write this down and put it in this slide to reflect on it and to let you know that I think that is the most important yeah, thing that reflected in the last year for me, I guess, right? Also, that no matter that we work on classic Plone, in Volto, in Guillotina, or in a new front end for the API, whatever technology we use, the important thing is that the implementations may change over time, but values do not. And so at the end, the idea that we are Plone, and so they are all the things that the community does, right? So yeah, during this year, as we said, many people started to jump into Volto, and the community started to give feedback about it, right? So the believers also became evangelists and started to spread the word and the enthusiasm. And I want to reflect in several also words that I overheard during this last year. Yeah, so one of them is this one by Tiberio Ikim. is that through the freedom that they provide, Volto blocks are a foundation for innovation that enables Plone to step in line with the latest state of the art for web development. And I think, yeah, that this sentence says it all, right? And I wanted also to put it in a slide. And I also heard that at the end, we not only built new UX and UI for Plone, but we also built a framework where to build new exciting things. And I think that that's also one of the most important messages that we have to give. Yeah, Eric also said, talk about it. We, in the process while developing Volto, we also realized that we were using and applying a set of principles that in the end, we thought that they were useful to write them down, to share with these other people that were jumping into Volto, and to have a common ground and fully understand what we are trying to accomplish and how we plan to do so. So yeah, we write them down. These the design principles. You can find them more extended in the Volto documentation. And it's this list. We came up with this. We come up with this list. And yeah, the basic thing I will say is approachability, right? So it does not only serve Volto. Should not only serve some of us to build nice things, it should serve to everybody. And it has to be friendly and nice for the newcomers, built on industrial standards and well-known technologies, right? And this, I think this is basic, and somehow we lost this during the Plone development process, and we should go back to it. Also, yeah, developer experience first, customization and extensibility first. Another important thing is that Volto UI UX is Pastanaga UI that Albert Casado did for us some years ago. And this is very important because we already have a style guide. We don't have to guess what's in there or what should be in there, because we already have this style guide to guide us through the process. Another important thing is that do not over-engineer things, because at the end, the simplest things are the best, right? I mean, we don't need to come up with a way of doing widgets with 5-way adapters, right? And also each feature has only one way of doing it, right? And front end and back end are meant to be decoupled is something that we also have to have very present, right? Because and not think that come up with things to mix them and use them together. No, they are meant to be decoupled. So let's stay decoupled, right? Also, focus on the UX and the UI implementation are upcoming challenges, and we should focus on that because, I mean, it's at the end is what the user experience in first person, and is what you sell to your clients, right? I mean, and this is very important that go back to focus into those things and not on backend or development issues and things like that. And then also that we are using semantic versioning. Yeah. So where are we in Volto today? Let me show you the state of Volto today. So some stats first. We did not during the last year, but those are overall stats. So back until today, we did 203 releases. We have more than 58 contributors, and we closed 1,253 pull requests. And currently we are in 3,024 commits. And the current release for Volto is Volto 10.3.0, right? Also, I want to reflect on which areas is Plone 6 better than Plone 5 today. I will say that today is the blocks engine is mainly the most important thing in Volto that we innovate, and we're working on it like to improve it every day. The authoring experience, something very nice that we added later, and Plone Classic does not have, is the Volto Dexterity schema layout editor. So Well, the schema we can do in Classic, but not the layout editor that Eric showed you one from a few moments ago. Also, the listing block. We underestimate what the listing block is capable to do. And the fact that you can put several of them in a same page and configure and make the query to the database, it's amazing. Also, having direct access to the full JS React ecosystem is also very important, and it's super powerful. So you need a library, so you go to npm, download it, use it in your React code, and that's it, right? Then the performance that were unheard in Plone lately, right? And something that we underestimate is that, as a bonus, Volto still works on Plone 4. Some of the features does not work, but 95% of Plone REST API features work in Plone 4. So if some client still don't want to go through all the migration dance from all Plone 4 to Plone 6 or Plone 5.2, whatever, you can also provide him with a nice new front end for this Plone 4 without touching a thing from its own backend, right? Which is super valuable, I will say. Another nice thing that happened this year is that we formed the Volto team. You can find here the members that they are now in this group. So, and we created it for people committed to take care of the upcoming Volto core features and discuss its implementation, triage the issues, and curate the pull request in GitHub. Curate and maintain the Volto roadmap, and also taking care of the release management process, right? Also, we put up the Volto early adopters meeting, and this is a meeting that is held monthly. The last Friday of the month is open for everybody who's interested, and it's mainly addressed to people and companies interested in adopt Volto for their immediate current Volto projects. And during this meeting, doubts, questions, problems, and issues are put on the table, and we discuss them. People tells their experiences, and also if they had any problem, or we discuss all things about Volto. As said, this meeting is open for everybody who is interested, and you're very welcome. So Volto 4, we call it the maturity release. It went out in March 2020. As you may already know, we introduced a new sidebar and a new mobile-first toolbar. We introduced a new objects browser, a new block chooser, and we improved the blocks definitions, made it future-proof. We finished the listing and TOC and the LED image blocks, and also some other improvements and library updates. And as I said, we improved the blocks developer experience. Tiberio is talking of it. Don't miss his talk on Wednesday. And from Volto 4, we went in 9 months to Volto 10. So Volto 10 happened last week, and it includes through these months multilingual support, improvements to the contents view, unauthorized forbidden, not found improvements, and related HTTP proper responses we were not doing until the time. We also add support during these months for using a completely different CSS framework other than semantic UI, which is the default. Don't miss also Nicola's talk on Wednesday as well. He will talk about it and show a little bit more how it's done. Also, with huge improvements in extensibility. Go to the Nilesh talk on Tuesday. He will tell you more about what we did and in this subject. We also have a new generator. We used to have the Create Volto app, but it will be deprecated soon in favor of this Yeoman-based generator, that it allows us to do more nicer things and have more control over the generated code, even a way to upgrade it, because it's something that human does out of the box, and also have a, yeah, I said, more programmatic control over what's in there. So yeah, watch out, because we will deprecate create Volto app in the next weeks, if not months. Yeah. Another thing that we did, I would say is the most important one, is the new add-on architecture. So Volto itself always had an outstanding extensibility story, but we introduced add-ons where you can now able to extend every aspect of Volto from an add-on, including Webpack and Babel configuration, and even testing configuration, and how Jest behaves, right? We do that. We do this configuring which add-ons do we want to install in our Volto project in the package.json add-ons key. And in this array, what we are defining is which add-ons are going to be installed in our Volto site in order, right? So you can customize the Volto default configuration that comes directly from Volto when we use it as a library. And then every add-on is able to touch and to modify, to mutate this configuration. And then finally, our own project is also able to do so. So we can still have another layer of customization in our project and apply those configuration, that definitions that will make our Volto site how we want it. So we are able to do so with released modules from NPM, and we are able to do so in a development experience very, very close to the Mr. Developer experience one in the Plone world, with a package that is called Mrs. Developer that was kindly ported to the Node world by Eric Briol. So thanks, Eric. Also, we have an awesome Volto repo where people put and publish their released packages, or not released packages, but the add-ons, the Volto add-ons that are already open sourced. So you can go there and take a look at it. Also, another talk, reference talk, Alok is doing his talk on Tuesday about building Volto add-ons, if you are interested. We did this weekend also a training on that. So you can go to the training video and take a look what we did. Also, we did some improvements into the shadowing engine. That means that for the shadowing engine to work, we needed to export the whole path as the shadow engine is going to use to overwrite a component, right? And this is no longer required, yeah, because thanks to Tiberio, he developed a Resolve plugin for Webpack that does that for you, so you are not required to do so anymore. And it works in add-ons too. Another nice thing, and I will say that it's a game changer, is the API block transforms. It's something that we have to thank also to Tiberio to come up with it. And it's a way for the API, it's a way to define a transform in the API level where in serialization and deserialization, so we can do it in inbound and outbound REST API calls to transform the blocks that are incoming or outcoming, and make some kind of manipulation on it, right? So for example, this is the text block deserializer that we're applying right now in Volto. And it's the one that converts URLs into Resolve UID internal links, right? So when we change, you know how it goes, right? So when you change the name of an object, you still maintain the reference to that object because it's internally it's referenced by an UID, right? So doing this way, Volto doesn't have to know a thing about Resolve UID, and Volto only knows about URL. So in inbound, the URL is a path as it is, and then this transform, what it does is deserialize the block and find all the URLs and transform it into UIDs, and then store the UID in the block. And back when someone calls some content, then when the API on serialization, then that's the other way around story, right? So you have resolve UID stored, goes through to the serializer, then it sees that it is a resolve UID that needs to be transformed into the URL. It gets transformed, and then it returns the path, not the resolve UID. So this way, Volto doesn't know about the thing about the resolve UID is even exists, right? And this is extremely powerful. And we are already toying with some ideas. And yeah, we'll see how far we can go with it, right? We also are able to do so. We'll register several transforms for the same block type. They are applied in order, the same as the portal transforms of Plone Classic, right? And yeah, we can apply to all the blocks if you don't specify the block type. And yeah, I mean, it's a very, very powerful feature. Continuing, lazy load support. We added this year also, and GoToNilesh talk also about bundle splitting on today, and he will explain a little bit more how it works. But basically, we are able to offload and to lazy load any component that we want, right? So this code, for example, explain how we lazy load the event view in Volto. Then, yeah, another nice thing that we have is the Volto Dexterity Schema and Layout Editor. Eric already showed it, especially the Dexterity Schema works basically the same as in Plone Classic. But the most important and the most amazing thing is the Blocks Layout Editor. Oops. So, yeah, this editor allows you to set which default blocks are going to be shown when a user creates a new content type, right? Then we can set it up in this nice editor. And yeah, we can do things like mark them required or not, force it in a fixed position, disable even the addition of new blocks. So you are forced to only fill the template that you are given, and even put it in read-only. So you only show, yeah, a title. You can put a title read-only, so everybody has to stick to those titles, right? Yeah, let's finish a little bit the video. But this is like a killer feature. So if your client wants to maintain the style of your site by enforcing a layout or a specific form of what the pages should look like, then you can do it easily because of this. Also, it uses the default dexterity facilities to do so, so you don't have to do anything else for make it work. So no strange magic on it, really. Right? We create another item of book, and then yeah, we have the layout set for you, and you can only do what you are allowed to. Yep. So yeah, don't miss Alin's talk, because Alin's is who to blame because of it. And yeah, on Tuesday at this hour. Also, something that we sneaked into Volto 10 last week, the ability to copy and paste blocks. So we can copy and paste blocks now, not even in the same page, but also in other pages and even in different windows, because it uses local storage to do so. And we can also not only copy adjacent, sorry, adjacent blocks, but also we can select them like you will do with file explorer, right? And yeah, it's quite nice. So yeah, we did some small things like page composition enhancements, like the object browser widget and the relations widget, which are both very nice. And the link widget is coming soon. So for the link widget for the link content type, to be exact. Also, the listing blocks get a big one, which is variation support. So now we are also able to define which template to apply to a listing block. So, and we can not only use the default ones, but also extend that and use custom ones. So without touching the listing block, we don't have to do anything. We only have to define it in the block configuration. You define the variations that you want to support, and then the variations show there, and you can use them right away. We are toying also with the idea to add variation support to all blocks, but I will talk about this later. Also, one thing that we do is to remove the listing container object from the results, which is very important because it was very weird that the same object that contained the listing block were in the results, potentially could be in the results of the query. And we did that to remove it. We did a way to remove it. Also, the event type support, and we have now a new recurrence widget. And what's the future? So the future is to be able to go to this nice place again. This is Sorrento, this is Capri on the Dawn. And yeah, I hope that next year we could go together and have some drinks in the terraza of the Hotel Mediterranean. But yeah, aside of that, I want also to show what we have into the store for the future of Volto. The first one and more exciting one is the slots concept. We want to take back or bring back slots into Volto, which will be, and we are think of it about a mix between viewlets and portlets. It will be the evolution of the Plone mosaic tiles concept, right? Because at the end is what they are, right? But we also want it to be ineditable, and we want it to be far more lightweight than portlets, because we don't really need a Plone portlet in Volto, right? Because a Plone portlet in Volto has a lot of rendering and template stuff on it that we don't really need. And they will contain blocks because it's the basic unit of content that we can think of, right? And they are configurable, they are extendable, they will support variations in short, and yeah, they should be assigned statically and or in the backend defined, right? We also want to have a form builder there. There are several efforts on that currently. Janina is working on it, and she will have tomorrow a talk at this hour, so don't miss his talk. Her talk, sorry. Also, is late adoption is something that we have in mind because we realize that Threads.js has its limitations, and the other web guys already have tried it, and we know that it brings, or it brings a lot of improvements in the text editing side. And we are about to start an exploration of how we could do that. And we want to do that, the sooner the better, right? Because we don't want also to dizzy people or mislead people, saying, hey, now we will now have Threads.js, but now we have Slate, right? So we wanted to do that and explore that option right away. Then the Plone 6 install and migration tooling. We need all these tools, and we need someone to champion that. As I said, the block variation support. We need a way to enhance existing blocks with different templates, as we do already in the listing block, and also with additional block data. that we could extend the it's stored in the blocks, and all of it do it from the block definition. That will make us very, very flexible into how a block should look like, and we will have several flavors of the same block and things like that. Then I will do a quick showcase of the things that the Volto the companies that already jump into Volto and are selling Volto projects already did this last year, right? So starting with OtherWeb, they did two nice websites. One is the Forest Information System for Europe. Also the biodiversity site, which is a beauty. Also, Red Turtle is about to release these two news websites. One is the Visit Modena, the other is the Biblioteca Comunale di Imola. Werbank has been busy also, and he did two nice sites with Volto, the Medici.com and the Job Family Medici also. Also, the University of Jyväskylä has also working on its own Volto sites. This one is using Volto as CMS, and it's published using Gatsby. I think that Rico-Pekka is also doing a talk about it during the conference. Also, we at Kit Concept was also working in sites of government and research institutes, which we cannot reveal really now. But all I can say is that they are huge, about 100K pages, and yeah, and one is an internet, a web project, and the other is an intranet. So yeah, Volto is able to handle all those things, right? Okay, and I have a few minutes to show you just one more thing. So Albert Casado became father some months ago, and we've been lucky enough that the baby was not very doesn't keep his father very busy, and Albert Casado had time to work in a new thing, and he sent his greetings, and I will show you the new style guide that he is working on. He sees that like a kind of extension or an evolution of Pastanaga, and I want you to tease some of it. Yeah. So first of all, he was so busy that he did a new logo for Volto, which I don't know if we are going to require it, but yeah, I mean, it's always nice to have those kind of graphic elements around. And he also did a new homepage or how this, yeah, how the theme of Pastanaga should evolve, or she showed the directions at least. He also redesigned the inputs, which, to be honest, I am already a little bit tired of the Pastanaga UI inputs myself, and we received more or less the same feedback about them, and they are not that flexible in some situations. And so for that, yeah, he designed a new set of inputs, and also, yeah, pages like you can see. Also, he redefined a little bit the interactions of the toolbar and the personal toolbar, but yeah, it's quite the same, but yeah, a little bit. Then yeah, profile here. Also the add new, I love this one. Yeah, most probably going to create this kind of interaction, yeah, very soon into Volto, which we have the two main content types that you are going to use at the top, right? Also, he redefined the editor experience. Yeah, we had some feedback to him, and then he also tried to streamline all the experience, yeah, using this toolbar at the top. Yeah, it will fix some of the issues that we have nowadays. Also the sidebar, he streamlined also a little bit the sidebar. Those changes are not big, right? But yeah, the most important one probably are the inputs. he even did a dark mode, a dark mode theme, right? Which is also nice. Yeah, we could implement it at some point. Yeah, also the responsive views of everything, of course. And then, yeah, this is an iPad probably view. And yeah, and this is it, I think. Yeah, this doesn't mean that we're going to implement all these right away into Volto, because it's a lot of work. But yeah, we will slowly bringing things into Volto itself, bit by bit, right? And improving bit by bit these small things that annoyed us, or that we found that maybe will be better in another UX and look alike, right? And that's it. Yeah, thanks for attending. And yeah.
Thanks, Victor. Thank you, Timo. This is a great preview of what's coming up in Volto, and I sincerely am appreciative of the work that you've put into this and organizing Volto and getting so many people to adopt it and making it the future of Plone, because it's truly very exciting. So thank you again, Victor and Timo. And for those of you who are watching, please join us in the face-to-face with Victor and Timo. They will continue to answer questions in there. You can see the link to the face-to-face below in your user interface in LoudSwarm. So thank you again, Victor and Timo.
Thanks to you, Kim.